I never planned to keep my success a secret, yet here I was, after a decade of quietly thriving, still pretending otherwise. Sitting comfortably in my private penthouse overlooking Central Park, I had grown strangely fond of the irony. My family spent years mocking my career choices, completely unaware that I was flourishing far beyond their wildest expectations. My name is Gloria Baker, but the corporate world knows me only as L.W. Blackwood, the elusive founder and CEO of Blackwood Innovations. To my family, however, I was always just their disappointing middle child, stubbornly wasting my time on freelance tech consulting instead of joining the revered family law firm. The day that shifted everything began like any ordinary morning. I was deep into reviewing acquisition reports in my secluded office atop Blackwood Tower when my assistant, Bobby, rushed inside, a strange look on his face. "Ms. Baker, you need to see these job applications," he said urgently, placing a tablet before me. "They just arrived from HR." Glancing down, I nearly spat out my coffee. There, presented neatly on the bright screen, were the names of my sister, Catherine, and my brother, Randy, both applying for executive roles within Blackwood Innovations. My disbelief only deepened when Bobby scrolled further, revealing yet another surprise. My father's prestigious law firm, Baker and Associates, had scheduled a pitch meeting with our legal department for the coming week. I leaned back, overwhelmed by memories flooding from 9 years earlier. Fresh out of college, armed with my computer science degree, I'd once tried passionately explaining my ideas for groundbreaking software architecture at a family dinner. My father had barely glanced away from his legal briefs, dismissively remarking, "Tech startups are a dime a dozen. Baker and Associates has represented a real success for 3 generations, Gloria. Not this coding nonsense." Catherine, 3 years my senior and already a junior partner at the firm, had laughed lightly, adding insult to injury. "Let her play with her little computers, Dad. She can always come to fix our IT when she inevitably fails." Even my younger brother, Randy, who showed minimal interest, delivered his encouragement wrapped in condescension. "Maybe you can design us a nicer website." That night, I realized they'd never understand or accept my vision. Determined, I ceased trying to persuade them and chose silence instead. Using my savings and a small loan from my trust fund, I secretly started building my dream. The initial years were brutal. I worked tirelessly from a cramped apartment, juggling genuine freelance projects as a cover for my real passion, creating a groundbreaking tech enterprise. Family gatherings became tests of patience and composure. "Still doing that freelance thing?" they would inquire, smiles dripping with fake concern and genuine mockery. Little did they know, that freelance thing had evolved into one of the most innovative software companies worldwide. Blackwood Innovations reshaped enterprise technology, pioneering advancements in cloud computing and artificial intelligence. By year 6, our valuation surpassed $9 billion. By year 7, we went public, and my net worth had grown greater than the combined value of every prestigious law firm in Philadelphia, including theirs. Despite this immense success, I meticulously maintained my cover. For family visits, I kept the small apartment to avoid suspicion, though I actually lived luxuriously in my penthouse overlooking the city. At family events, I arrived in an old Honda, even though a fleet of luxury vehicles awaited me in a private garage. I silently endured their sympathetic glances, secretly amused that my annual charity contributions far exceeded their firm's yearly profits. Yet, now, gazing at their applications to my company, the moment I'd anticipated yet dreaded had finally arrived. My secret was about to unravel, and I couldn't help but smile at the poetic justice of it all. I felt a swirl of conflicting emotions inside me. Part of me wanted nothing more than to reject my siblings immediately, to make them experience just a hint of the dismissal I'd faced from them countless times. But another part saw an even more appealing opportunity unfolding before me. "Bobby," I finally said, breaking the silence, "schedule their interviews but don't set them in the executive suite. Instead, use the small conference room on the 20th floor." Bobby raised an eyebrow in surprise. "The one we usually reserve for junior positions?" "Yes, exactly," I said firmly. And don't mention anything about them meeting LW Blackwood. Let them believe they're interviewing with middle management. After Bobby left my office, I opened my laptop and began researching my siblings' professional journeys. Catherine had quit our father's law firm 3 years earlier after unsuccessfully attempting to bring modern changes to the firm. Randy, on the other hand, had bounced between various positions, never quite living up to the expectations set by our father. Now, suddenly, they both wanted to join the tech industry, the very industry they had once belittled. My phone buzzed, interrupting my thoughts. It was a text from Catherine. "Hey sis, I just applied to this amazing tech company. Put in a good word if you know someone there, smiley face." I smiled, shaking my head at the irony. For an entire decade, Catherine had never shown even the slightest interest in my work. Yet now, because she needed something, my connections suddenly mattered. "I'll see what I can do," I texted back, knowing full well that tomorrow would dramatically change everything. Later that evening, I stood at my penthouse window, watching the golden glow of the sunset illuminate the city below. On my desk lay an old photograph from my college graduation, the last occasion my family had shown any genuine pride in me, even if it was mixed with worry about my impractical choices. Bobby's voice interrupted my thoughts through the intercom. "Ms. Baker, your siblings' interviews are set for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Your father's law firm is scheduled to pitch their services at 3 p.m. Are you certain about this?" I reflected quietly on all those family dinners where I endured their bragging about legal victories, all the holidays when I was seen as a cautionary tale, and all the missed opportunities for support replaced with judgment. Finally, I replied with confidence, "Yes, Bobby, I'm absolutely sure. Tomorrow, the Baker family will finally see what true success looks like." Picking up the graduation photo again, I studied my younger self's hopeful eyes. Back then, I desperately wanted my family's approval. Now, I understood clearly that the only person whose approval truly mattered was my own. The next morning, I arrived at Blackwood Tower early, riding my private elevator straight to the 20th floor. The small, plain conference room had been prepared exactly as instructed: basic furniture, no lavish decor, and certainly no indication of the company's massive success. Watching the security cameras from my office, I saw Catherine arrive first, confident and impeccably dressed. Randy followed shortly after, looking uneasy, adjusting his tie nervously. They were escorted separately to the modest conference room, completely unaware that their struggling sister was watching from above, ready to unveil her true accomplishments. Through the surveillance feed, I observed their nervous habits. Catherine fussed over her appearance with a compact mirror, while Randy tapped anxiously on the table. Neither sibling knew just how much their lives were about to change. "Send in the interviewer," I instructed Bobby via my earpiece. Right on cue, Kelly Arden, my brilliant chief technology officer, stepped confidently into the room. I'd chosen Kelly carefully. She was young, talented, and represented everything my siblings had underestimated and dismissed throughout my career. "Good morning," Kelly said warmly, sitting across from Catherine and Randy and opening their resumes. The stage was set, and I felt a deep satisfaction knowing that, after years in the shadows, I was finally about to step into the light. Kelly began confidently, "I'm conducting initial interviews for Blackwood Innovations. Let's begin by discussing your technical backgrounds." Catherine straightened immediately, assuming the poised and authoritative posture she'd perfected from years in the courtroom. "Well, while I may not have direct tech experience," Catherine said smoothly, "I have overseen multiple digital transformation projects at various law firms." Kelly raised a skeptical eyebrow, clearly unconvinced. "Could you elaborate on the specific technical aspects involved in these projects?" Watching carefully from the security monitor, I saw Catherine struggle, her confident facade quickly crumbling as she resorted to vague legal jargon to hide her clear lack of technical understanding. Randy was no better. His attempts to appear knowledgeable about the tech industry quickly fell apart under Kelly's precise and informed questioning. After 20 painfully revealing minutes, Kelly thanked them politely and left the room. Catherine and Randy exchanged anxious glances. their earlier confidence visibly shaken. Send in the next interviewer, I instructed Bobby calmly. Arthur Anderson, my head of innovation, entered the room next, promptly asking pointed questions about their opinions on cutting-edge topics like cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. My siblings' answers quickly showed their limited knowledge, filled mostly with trendy buzzwords, but lacking genuine insight or depth. Is this some kind of joke? Catherine finally snapped, frustration overcoming her professional demeanor. We're here to interview for executive positions, not tech support. Where is L.W. Blackwood? We should be speaking with decision-makers. Arthur maintained a calm, neutral expression, though I could tell he was suppressing a smile. Ms. Baker, I assure you, this is standard procedure. However, if you prefer to discontinue. No, Randy interrupted hastily. We apologize. Please continue. 4 more interviewers followed, each expertly uncovering my siblings' lack of preparedness and qualifications. By the final round, Catherine and Randy appeared thoroughly defeated. Ms. Baker, Bobby's voice came softly through my earpiece. Your father's team has arrived for their legal services pitch. Perfect timing, I responded confidently. Have them wait in the main conference room. I'll handle this personally. Taking my private elevator down to the 20th floor, I straightened my designer suit, checked my reflection, and prepared myself. After a decade of secretly building my empire, the moment I'd anticipated had finally arrived. When I opened the door to the small conference room, the expressions on my siblings' faces were unforgettable. Confusion turned to shock, and then slowly, horror, as they realized exactly what was happening. Gloria? Catherine stammered. What are you doing here? We're in the middle of our interviews. Actually, I said calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. You've reached the end of your interviews, and they haven't gone particularly well. Randy leaned forward, clearly flustered. What do you mean? How would you know? Because I cut him off gently but firmly. I own this company. I am L.W. Blackwood. The silence that followed was deafening. Catherine's mouth opened but produced no sound. Randy gripped the table so tightly his knuckles whitened. That's impossible, Catherine finally managed to whisper, disbelief clear in her voice. You're just a freelancer. You work from coffee shops. I laughed softly, the sound echoing gently around the small room. No, Catherine, that's just what I allowed you to believe. While you all pitted my career decisions, I was building Blackwood Innovations, a Fortune 400 company now worth more than every law firm in Philadelphia combined. Randy struggled to form a coherent sentence. All these years. Yes, I nodded, a serene satisfaction filling me. All these years, while you mocked my coding nonsense and offered me IT support jobs. All these years, I continued steadily, looking my siblings directly in their stunned faces. While you bragged about your legal victories at family dinners, I was quietly revolutionizing enterprise software. You dismissed me as a failure. Yet behind your backs, I was closing $7 billion deals. I've become one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the world. Catherine's face paled dramatically. Why didn't you tell us? She asked weakly. Why would I? Asked calmly. When did any of you ever show genuine interest in my work or offer real support instead of condescension? I took their resumes from the table, placing them squarely between us. And now, here you both are applying to my company, not because you're qualified, but simply because you've heard Blackwood Innovations is successful. Your interviews today demonstrated that you're not fit for these roles. Gloria, please, Randy began, desperation creeping into his voice, but I raised my hand to stop him. I'm not finished, I said firmly. At this very moment, our father is upstairs, about to pitch legal services to my company. He has no idea that the tech entrepreneur he'll try to impress is the daughter he once claimed would amount to nothing. Standing up, I smoothed my skirt and glanced towards the door. Bobby will see you out. Don't wait for callbacks. You won't be getting any. Just as I reached the doorway, Catherine's voice trembled behind me. You can't leave it like this. Turning back, I met her gaze steadily. Actually, Catherine, I can. For 9 years, I let all of you believe exactly what you wanted about me. Now you'll have to live with the truth. And trust me, this is just the beginning. Leaving the room, I felt a sense of liberation I'd waited years to experience. But the day wasn't finished yet. My father was still waiting, about to have his moment of revelation. I took my private elevator to the executive conference room on the top floor, where my father, Liam Baker, stood by the expansive windows overlooking South Philadelphia, flanked by his junior partners. They practiced their polished smiles and adjusted their presentation notes, oblivious to my approach. Pausing momentarily outside the glass wall, I recalled the countless times as a child I'd stood in his office, yearning for his approval. Standing now in my tower, I realized those childhood dreams no longer mattered. I didn't need his pride. I'd earned my own. Bobby opened the conference room door, announcing clearly, "Miss Blackwood is ready for you." My father's smile froze as confusion, then shock flickered across his face upon seeing me enter. "Gloria," he stammered. "What are you doing here?" "Hello, Dad," I replied calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. "You're here to pitch your legal services to Blackwood Innovations." The junior partners exchanged puzzled glances, clearly unsettled. My father, still standing, looked bewildered. "I don't understand. We have a meeting scheduled with L.W. Blackwood." "Yes," I confirmed smoothly. "You do. Please sit down." Realization dawned slowly on my father's face as he sank into a chair, disbelief overtaking him. You're L.W. Blackwood?" "Yes," I said evenly, a quiet confidence filling the room. "Founder and CEO of Blackwood Innovations, the company you're so eager to represent." Turning briefly to his junior partners, I added, "I apologize, but we'll need privacy. This is a family matter." The junior partners quickly left the room, nearly tripping over each other in their haste, leaving me alone with my father. For a long, heavy moment, neither of us spoke. He stared at me as if trying to recognize a stranger. "How?" he finally asked, voice barely a whisper. "How did you manage to build a multi-billion-dollar tech company without us even noticing? And how did you keep it hidden from an entire family of supposedly brilliant lawyers?" I leaned back comfortably in my chair, meeting his gaze steadily. "I built this company exactly the way I told you I would 9 years ago, at that dinner. Remember when you dismissed my dreams, calling tech startups a dime a dozen?" He visibly flinched at the painful memory. Keeping it a secret was surprisingly simple. All of you were so certain I was a failure that none of you bothered to look any closer. Did you even realize Blackwood Innovations has been featured in Forbes multiple times? That I've been interviewed by CNBC? That our IPO was one of the largest tech offerings this decade? He shook his head slightly, disbelief etched across his features. "But what about your apartment, your car?"
"They were props," I said.
"I maintained them to keep up the illusion you all preferred, the struggling daughter who could never measure up to her successful siblings." My father seemed to age visibly in front of me. "Catherine and Randy, they applied for jobs here?" "Yes," I replied calmly. "They finished their interviews just before you arrived. It didn't go well." He straightened, regaining a sliver of his old authority. "Now see here, Gloria, they're your family. Surely you could." "Could what, Dad?" I interrupted firmly. "Hire them for positions they're not qualified for, like that tech support role you condescendingly offered me at your firm? Or perhaps I should hire your firm because we're family. Is that your idea of business?" "That's not fair," he protested weakly. "No," I agreed. What wasn't fair was dismissing my dreams and abilities for 9 years because they didn't fit your narrow view of success. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the sprawling city below. "Look at this building, Dad. Look at what I achieved while you spent years telling everyone I was wasting my potential." Slowly, he joined me, his reflection showing a blend of emotions I'd never seen: shame, regret, and perhaps even pride. "Why tell us now?" he asked quietly. "Because it's time," I answered clearly. "Because I'm tired of hiding my success. And because," I turned to face him directly, "I wanted you all to learn a valuable lesson about judgment." He sighed, a hint of familiar sarcasm returning. "And have we learned it?"
"I don't know, Dad. Have you?"
Your children just applied for jobs at the company you said would never succeed. Your firm is pitching services to the daughter you believed would amount to nothing. What do you think?" He stared out at the city silently, reflecting deeply. Finally, he faced me. "I was wrong about you, Gloria. I've been wrong for a very long time." "Yes, you have," I said firmly, moving back to my desk and pressing the intercom button. "Bobby, please show Mr. Baker out and cancel any future meetings with his firm." "Wait," my father said quickly, turning back. "You're not even considering our proposal?" I looked him steadily in the eyes. "No, Dad. Just as you never genuinely considered my ideas or potential. But unlike you, my decision is based purely on merit, not personal bias." As he reached the doorway, he hesitated. "What happens now with the family? That depends entirely on all of you," I replied calmly. "I'm done hiding. I'm done playing the disappointing daughter. If you want a relationship with me now, it will be on very different terms." After he left, I sat quietly in my office, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the city in shades of gold. My phone buzzed constantly, flooded with messages from my mother, siblings, and even distant relatives who had somehow already learned the truth. Catherine's message stood out. "I'm so sorry for everything.
Can we talk?"
Randy followed closely with, "I understand now why you kept it secret. I wouldn't have trusted us either." Finally, my father messaged, "You've built something remarkable, Gloria. Not by ignoring my advice, but by having the courage to follow your path. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I called Bobby into my office. "Cancel my dinner plans," I instructed him firmly. "I need you to arrange something different." The next evening, I hosted a family dinner at my real home, the luxurious penthouse I'd kept hidden, not the modest apartment I'd used as a cover. My family arrived one by one, their eyes wide with disbelief and wonder as they absorbed the elegance around them. Once everyone was seated, I stood and addressed them directly. "Before we start dinner, I need to make something clear. This evening isn't about pretending the past didn't happen or offering quick forgiveness. It's about finally moving forward with honesty. Can we agree on that?" They nodded solemnly, understanding clearly. "Good," I smiled, feeling a deep sense of relief. "Then let me tell you the real story of Blackwood Innovations. No more secrets, no more pretending, just the truth." As I shared my journey openly, I noticed something entirely new reflected in their eyes, not pity or arrogance, but genuine respect. For the first time in 9 years, I felt truly liberated. The following morning, I walked into my office confidently, openly embracing the success I'd hidden for so long. There were no more pretenses, no more hiding. My family had finally learned the hard lesson of never underestimating anyone, and I discovered that the greatest satisfaction wasn't proving them wrong, it was proving myself right. Not long after, the news of my hidden success spread quickly. Headlines screamed about the tech billionaire's secret identity, but none of the media attention mattered to me anymore. I'd dedicated 9 years to quietly building something extraordinary, succeeding far beyond what my family ever imagined. Now, they had to face the truth. Their biggest mistake wasn't in their careers, but in their failure to recognize the accomplishments that had been right in front of them all along. That realization was far more valuable to me than any fortune I'd accumulated.